they're going to unveil it again. Hello, no, there we go.
Yeah, he's supposed to do this one. I studied playwriting. Seen you in a long time. How are you?
I'm okay.
Feeling okay?
Still here.
Yeah, still here. I'm glad you came.
Barely,
So we're going to get you on camera to talk about you know what.
Whatever.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, good.
Okay. Now?
No, not yet.
Dames at Sea. Everything you know.
Everything I know?
Everything
well,
you know.
It started out, it was in the garbage can.
Hang on one second. My
Chino.
purse is on the ground behind me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
It was in the garbage can at the Cafe Chino on the top.
Okay.
Yellow around the edges. Oh, I can't tell
Bob
you everything.
Dahdah.
I can't tell you
Bob
everything.
Dahdah?
Yes.
Tell us everything you know about Dames at Sea.
Magie, Dominic?
Yes.
I can't tell you everything, but I'll tell you the highlights.
There you go.
The first highlight was I found it in the garbage at the Cafe Chino. Joe had been cleaning out his files, and it was on top of the garbage, yellow around the edges. It had been submitted a year before, and I picked it up and I said, "What's this?" He said, "Oh, probably nothing." So I said, "It looks like a 30s musical." So I took it in the subway, and when I read it, I decided that I would use the same people for the cast for the chorus, 6 people for the chorus. Anyway, I would do it in black and white and silver like a movie. Anyway, and then I did it at the Chino. And,
Who was in it?
Well, I cast a girl named Judy Gallagher in it, but she came to me after a couple of days of rehearsing, choreographed by Don Price, and she said, "I can't do the tapping." And I said, "Isn't it wonderful? What a wonderful person to tell me so early that you can't do it." So she left, and then Don Price said, "There's a girl in my class, my David something class, named Bernadette Peters, and why don't you look at her?" And I said, "Fine." So I arranged to meet her at the Hartley House on 46th Street, and another girl, arranged to meet her at the Hartley House. So at 1 o'clock, Bernadette showed up, and at 5 after 1, I knew that she was the right one for the part. And luckily, the girl that was supposed to show up at 1:30 was late, so she got punished. I didn't wait that long. But anyway,
No time to
Bernadette got
lose.
the part, and the rest is history. She was great in it. The show was a big hit, ran 3 months, twice a night. Her sister, Donna, who's equally talented and equally beautiful, took over the role when Bernadette had to leave after a couple of months. And it ran for 3 longest running off-Broadway production ever presented, and I directed it. But the important thing was that I also collaborated on it to expand it, and I added a rain song. I said you can't do a 30s musical without a rain song.
Right.
So I added the song
Raining in My
Raining
Heart.
in My Heart, and I co-wrote the lyrics for it. The nice thing and the end thing about the whole thing was that after the big smash hit that it was, the lovely people, the 2 men that were connected with it, moved it without me. I had nothing on paper with them legally, so they moved the whole thing without me. They moved it off Broadway with Bernadette and David Christmas, with my writing, my lyrics, made $1 million, and I got nothing. But God is kind, because they're both dead and burning in hell, and I'm still here.
You see?
So that's the
Everything
end.
has a happy ending.
Happy ending.
Happy ending.
Yeah. Those 2 people, Jim Wise and George Hampton, are both dead and burning in hell, but I'm still here. And I read
And
yesterday.
Bob is not bitter.
No,
Bob
I'm not
is
bitter. Not bitter. But yesterday I read Bernadette had her 60th birthday. Isn't that wonderful? Bernadette
Yeah.
Peters.
Okay.
Where's my umbrella?
That's the song.
Where's
Here's
my guy? I need that fella to keep me dry. It won't help if the raindrops should fall. Boom, 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 boom. 'Cause it's raining in my heart. That's what Bernadette introduced, thanks to Mr. Dahdah discovered her at age 16.
She turned 60 yesterday.
And
that's
Maggie's
Robert
the
Heide.
queen. I have to add that up to the Cafe Chino. If there ever is a queen of the Cafe Chino, she was Snow White. She was everything.
Oh, yes. She was Snow White. And when we did Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, she brought me a little cap that Bernadette wore in Dames at Sea.
Where's my bag?
and she's going to take it out and show it to me. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, he's a wonderful person.
Oh boy.
This is my book on Greenwich.
There you go. Just take it right there.
Oh, there it is. Oh my God, how beautiful. This beautiful cap that she wore.
It's the hat from the actual show.
And
Yep.
there's the cap that she wore in Dames at Sea in the original production. And do you know where I got all this material? A friend of mine who was an opera singer had died. And she left all this costumes out in front of the building. So I grabbed everything and I took it home. And then when I did Dames at Sea, I had all these fabulous costumes. I had rhinestone, what is it for Norma Victory?
A vest?
A vest, yeah, rhinestone, and this lovely hat. Look at that, for Ruby, Bernadette's part. And I got it from this opera singer who died and left all her stuff out front.
There you go. It's back home. It's back home.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yep.
Thank you so much, Maggie.
welcome.
God bless you.
What is that?
That's the hat that Bernadette wore in Dames at Sea.
Oh my
Cafe Chino,
God.
isn't it nice? I wonder if.
That's a legendary piece.
That's a legendary piece.
Yeah,
Yep.
incidentally, Donna DeSeta, who's Bernadette's sister, who also replaced her when it was running, because she had to leave to do a show with Robert Alda and Lisa Kirk called Riverwind, in which Bernadette played a child. She was still only 15 years old, going on 16 when she did this part. And yesterday she turned 60, Bernadette. But her sister, Donna DeSeta, is equally talented and equally beautiful. What?
She's too old for the part. You can't revive her.
No. Well, no.
Yeah.
Hello, who's that? Hi. Larry. Larry Loonin.
Oh, yeah?
Please. How great to see you.
Okay, well, I'm Robert Heide. I wrote the existential play, The Bed, which a couple years ago was done on the street, if you can believe it, and was revived on the street, and it was in all the newspapers. But The Bed made history because it was two men in a bed, and it caused a kind of scandal. The FBI came down to see what was going on, and nothing was really going on because it was about existential angst and ennui and drugs. I also wrote a play called Moon that was done here, and it was published. And so I've been a Chinoite going back to 1965. That's a long, long time ago, isn't it? The decades fly by. They told me that would happen, but I didn't think it would happen to me. But here we are. And it's 50 years later of celebrating the Chinos. But I've gone on to write plays and books, and I'm one of the alumni. This is sort of like a high school reunion in a way. It's scary. Time flies. Or what does Tennessee Williams talk about? The enemy time. You know? So, and the first thing I saw here was No Exit. It was on a wintry night, and I was one of the few people in the audience. I just wandered in, and it was just a great experience to just walk into No Exit, because at that time, myself and H.M. Koutoukas were reading Being in Nothingness and stuff like that, you know. So that's my story in a kind of nutcase nutshell. But it's great to be here. This is a grand occasion. Okay. $80 pays your rent on Bleecker Street. Our rents were all under $100, and that's why we could afford to do plays at the Cafe Chino. I'll talk to you later.
They're downstairs.
And that is bringing Tennessee Williams back to life. He did it at City Center. He does it all over the country. Would you say a few words?
As Mr. Williams? Well, you know, they did some of my plays down here, and I always liked off-Broadway better than Broadway. They always treated me very kindly here. And I'm happy here to be paying tribute to Mr. Chino. He was a great man.
don't forget to film me when you get a chance. I take my clothes off. And I'm John Gilman, and I worked at the Cafe Chino as an actor in a play called Moon, where I was playing the Parsifal figure who came in with a loaf of bread towards the end of the play, which was about a dysfunctional couple who lived in the village. And I played an artist who painted circles. And everybody laughs when I describe the circles because the whole theme of the play was moon. And I described the circles and the colors and the lighting. It was very intense. Tiny stage, crowded with people around with little tables, drinking coffee, eating bagels, and and we always tried to do a really terrific job. I mean, the best that could be be brought forth in as long a rehearsal period as we could work it on it, you know. And I, as an audience member, I saw dozens of memorable plays, and it was always a great experience. I can't talk anymore, so I'll just be myself. Just like taking a cigarette break, and I'm the youngest Chino alumni.
I did. I wish you could have been there. And Sam. Things to say, it won't take too long. You know what? I'll start while he's unwrapping. In late 2000, I'm Christine Karatnytsky from the New York Public Library, and thank you very much for coming. In late 2007, this evening was conceived as a simple library talk, believe it or not, for the Greenwich Village Society for Historic Preservation, given by me to introduce the theater division of the New York Public Library and the Cafe Chino, the first continuous off-Broadway theater. I intended to show catalog drawers, reference books, and a selection of memorabilia from a small archive of ephemera that the Village Voice critic Michael Smith salvaged and brought to Lincoln Center after the Chino finally closed in 1968. After a few back and forths, the Preservation Society and I realized that our scheduling needs weren't being met, so we moved things to the Cornelia Street Cafe right next door. Somehow, between then and now, mostly in the last month, this talk became an event and a celebration, and I thank you all so much for coming. It's really amazing. This is thanks mainly, though, to the ministrations of an angel known as Robert Patrick. Robert Patrick, like so many of those we're celebrating tonight, is a pioneer in the off-Broadway and gay theater movement. He's the author of over 60 plays, including Kennedy's Children, a hallmark of its era, which provided an opportunity for Shirley Knight to earn a Tony Award in 1976. That's the only awards I'm mentioning for anybody I'm introducing, because I just can't handle it. Bob arranged for the commemorative plaque, which we're going to unveil, to be placed on the exterior of the Poe restaurant, which 50 years ago opened as a little coffee house called the Cafe Chino. Bob also arranged for a proclamation to be granted by the City of New York in honor of Joseph Chino, the proprietor of this coffee house, and the legacy of new theater for which he was a catalyst. So we all owe Robert Patrick our thanks and our love. He is 3,000 miles away in Los Angeles, and he gave us a much better reason than the one we had before, to come together to remember Joe Chino one more time. Thank you, Bob Patrick.
Hooray. Very nice.
Now, there are two ironies associated with what we're about to do. The first, easily recognized by all of you, is that we're celebrating a coffee house during a time when our city has become suffocated by them. These days, a coffee house has an endlessly cloned design template, a marketing strategy devised by a corporation, and a grand scheme for worldwide colonization. 50 years ago, coffee houses were havens for poets, musicians, and freaks of all stripes. And I use this in the freak positive sense of the word. Coffee houses were symbols of an anti-establishment aesthetic, where individuals struggled to break free of the oppressive order imposed by the values of the previous generation. This is a far cry from what they've become, a distressing epitome of capitalist excess. But even in a neighborhood like Greenwich Village and an era like the 50s and 60s, both of which were replete with coffee houses, the Cafe Chino was unique. The second irony, more likely to be noticed by the Chino veterans, is that it has been finally formally acknowledged by the city of New York. And official recognition, I have to say, has got to strike some of you, well, as ironic, given the Chino's history of being constantly at odds with any kind of governmental agency, not to mention Actors' Equity and Con Edison. So let me finish by going back a little further than 50 years. Is that proclamation unwrapped, Mr. Guare?
No, I'm going to unveil it right in front of everybody.
Classical scholars trace the origins of theater to the leaping dance, the dithyramb of the Rite of Dionysus. This was the story of his horrible death, performed by large groups of his followers in an intoxicated, half-crazed, orgiastic ritual at ancient festivals. Now, between... You're ruining my line. Between two rascals known as Ken Burgess and Joe Davies, who entertained me for hours while we were putting together an exhibit at Lincoln Center in 1985, I happen to know a little something about some intoxicated kukaya orgiastic shenanigans that went on in the Chino after hours. But the point here is the communal aspect of what went on with the lights on, so to speak. Theater, as we all know so well, is not a solitary art, and even Joe Chino, magician that he was, did not put on shows alone. If I may say so, he wouldn't have wanted to, and that wasn't the point. The Cafe Chino was a place for friends to gather and have a good time while they made themselves into a family. As Robert Patrick had said, had Joe Chino decided to open a bowling alley, we all would have become champion bowlers, and we'd all be dedicating a plaque at a bowling alley. As we said in 1985, Chino wasn't concerned with the future, only with the miraculous present, the room, the performance, and the people watching. Nevertheless, the recognition that belongs to your friend also belongs to all of you who made theater with him and created a legacy. And we thank you.
Thank you. God bless Joe.
I'm going to introduce the presenters as a group, and the ceremony is going to be turned over to them. And we're holding out against the rain. And excuse me, when we're done here, we're just going to all shuffle downstairs and have the indoor program. So Marie-Claire Charba, who is right here, is going to read a poem by Sarah Teasdale. Initially I was going to rename it Cornelia Street, but actually it's better if we just name it Off Broadway, right? And I'm particularly pleased that Marie-Claire is here because she's representing the spirit of Tom Ian, the spirit of Ellen Stewart, not the spirit of, but Ellen Stewart and the Café La Mama troupe. John Guare had his first plays produced at the Chino, and he is going to read the proclamation from New York. Oh, I forgot to say, on one memorable occasion, when the Guare troupe didn't show up to perform at the cafe, the comic book plays were born. And Maggie Dominic is famous for starring in the comic book plays. Snow White. She is going to unveil the plaque and read it to you because you won't be able to read it. And right?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
You want to go over, John?
Come on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this is by Sarah Teasdale, who was a village poet in the beginning of the century, living here in the village. We'll call it, what, Off Broadway.
Off Broadway.
This is the quiet. The theaters have gathered in their crowds, and steadily the million lights blaze on for few to see, robbing the sky of stars that should be hers. A woman waits with bag and shabby furs. A somber man drifts by, and only we pass up the street, unwearied, warm, and free. For over us, the olden magic stirs. Beneath the liquid splendor of the lights, we live a little, ere the charm is spent. This night is ours, of all the golden nights. The pavement?
Joe Chino.
Glitter.
An enchanted palace. And you, the player on the viol, who sent a strain of music.
Wonderful. Bravo.
Okay, John.
Proclamation.
Okay,
Here we are. Right out of, emerging from the garbage, yes. Here we are. We'll unveil this. My goodness. Oh, this is very fancy. Where does this go? Where does this go? Who gets
I'm going to
this?
take it inside. I don't know. Let's get
The library. Office of the Manhattan Borough President, City of New York, proclamation. Whereas we are proud to acknowledge those individuals who have long devoted their time and energy to enriching our cultural community and with whom we are lucky to celebrate great achievements. And whereas in December 1958, Joe Chino opened the Cafe Chino, which gave theatrical artists the unconditional opportunity to present their plays at regular intervals to the public for the sake of their art, without the need to make a profit or consider religious, legal, or critical opinions. And whereas Joe Chino's liberality, unprecedented in the annals of theater history, inspired playwrights and directors to innovations in form and content not before possible on the commercial and state-controlled stages of the world. And whereas Joe Chino's example inspired untold numbers of emulators, first locally sparking New York's vital off-Broadway movement, then nationally, then internationally, exerting influence as well on music, films, and television. Now, therefore, I, Scott M. Stringer, President of the Borough of Manhattan, do hereby commend Joe Chino for his ongoing cultural contributions and proclaim this Monday, April 28th, 2008, as Joe Chino Appreciation Day in the Borough of Manhattan. In witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the Borough of Manhattan to be affixed. There it is. Okay.
Bravo.
get your picture taken.
Well, everybody should. I mean, Bob Patrick, who was when he was Bob Connors, and would greet you at the front door. He was the face of the first face of Chino, taking you into the inner sanctum of Joe. No, it's so funny. You know, I'll just say a few. May I say a few words?
Yeah.
No, it must. No, sure. No, it must have been 44 years ago. It could have been this week. I had just got out of the Air Force in April 1964. That's 44 years ago. I came back to New York. I didn't know where to go. I had a couple of places. I'd gone to Yale. I'd been to just got drafted. I was in the Air Force for 6 months.
I came back. Where to go? Even off-Broadway. Broadway was impossible. Off-Broadway was even too big a dream. I didn't know what to do. I was roaming. I just was taking a walk, and I wandered up this street, which I had never seen before, and I saw in this window, there was a hand-painted placard, Cafe Chino, Madness of Lady Bright, a new play by Lanford Wilson. It was starting. I went in to see it. Well, it was something. It was a whole new world. I had never seen it. It was something I said, I could fit here. I could. This is just. I wandered off the street. This is my kind of place. These people. And I came back the next day. I found out that Chino would be there at 6 o'clock. So I got there at 6 with my 2 plays. I'd written a bunch of plays at Yale and one in the Air Force, but I took these pathetic plays. And I said, are you Joe Chino? He said, I said, I'm a playwright. And he said, I'm not doing any plays. I'm sorry, not doing any plays at all. I said, none of that. He said, no, I'm only doing plays by Aquarians. But I said, I am an Aquarian. He said, when were you born? I said, February 5th. He said, prove it. I took out my driver's license. I went to my wallet. I got my driver's license. I took it out. I'll show my senior citizen subway card. I showed him my birthday. He said, February 5th. I've been waiting for you. And he opened up his charts and he said, we have a date. You open in May. You open in May and you get a 3rd-week extension. Oh. Welcome to the Chino. And I'll tell you something. I walked out and I was a playwright. I was a New York playwright, and one of our nights, our cast didn't show up. They got stoned or something.
Because she's going to get rained on.
All right. Anyway, I'm so honored. I am one of the least people to read this proclamation, but one of the happiest. So I'm always love.
God bless you.
God bless you all. God bless you.
Hi, I'm Magie, Dominic, and I went to a Catholic school all my life, but they never taught us how to unveil a plaque. So this is a plaque honoring Joe Chino and everybody who was a part of that whole moment in time.
Louder!
This is a plaque.
Whereas
This is a plaque honoring Joe Chino, the Cafe Chino, and everyone who was a part of that wonderful moment. The curtain covering the plaque is a part of the curtain that was when you walked inside the door of the cafe, there was this big, heavy curtain. This is the curtain. This is a piece of the curtain that Chris gave to us. All hemmed and ironed and everything.
Kenny gave that to me.
Right, so it went from the door to Kenny to Chris.
Burgess.
So here's the plaque.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Can you see it?
The plaque says, this is Joe. The plaque says, Joe Chino, 1931 to 1967. On this site in the Cafe Chino, sorry, I'll start again. On this site in the Cafe Chino, 1958 to 1968, artists brought theater into the modern era, creating off-Broadway and forever altering the performing arts worldwide. And then beneath it, it says, photo by Conrad Ward, collection Hope Stansbury, plaque donated by Robert Patrick.
So thank you, and let's go get a drink.
After all this.
Robert, you stand here with this
Yeah,
plaque. And Robert does.
Yes, take your pictures. Take your
And
pictures.
Paul, let's Paul is here with the plaque. And Mary Claire.
Oh, yes.
I need to get the proclamation.
I'm shortening myself. As you wander on through life, brother, never be your goal.
Starting to rain now.
Keep your eye upon the door.
Look at the camera. If you can't see the camera, it can't see you. Okay. You need to lower it. You've got it over.
All right, darling.
I snuck it.
Okay, smile. Thank you. Okay.
Wait till I get my teeth.